Hello everybody and welcome to this video. It's a bit of all sorts in this one really. It's lots of little jobs that I needed to get done for the winter. Some energy efficiency things and maintenance and what have you. So let's start initially with my wall-mounted solar panels. So you can see in this shot here that at this time of year the sun is so low that it catches the top of one of the fence posts on the fence between mine and my neighbour's garden, and it casts a shadow right onto the panel, and that drags the entire string down, and it makes a real difference to the amount of output I get. So what I tend to do at this time of year is I take the panel off the wall and I rotate it so it's landscape and move it up a bit so that it's just high enough that the shadow doesn't reach it anymore, and that improves my output enormously. What I do is I leave it like that. It doesn't look very attractive, but it doesn't really matter at this time of year because we don't open any of the windows or anything, so it doesn't matter that it's half blocking the window and stuff. So we leave it like that for sort of 4 months of the year or so, and then once the spring comes and the sun's moved up enough that the shadows won't hit it anymore, we just go and reattach it in its proper orientation, and then it looks a lot better again, and we get you know, just the same output. It just means that, you know, the shadows clear it then. So yeah, I did that, and then after that it was time to refill my log store with some fresh logs. I burnt some off last winter, and I've been waiting over the course of this summer for a local tree surgeon to be doing some work in the area where I can sort of collect up the wood, and then I can use it to dry it out in my log stores. I usually dry them for about 2 years, so I have a stage system going where I'll put the stuff in an empty one this year, and then 2 years later it will be ready, but obviously I've got it rolling, so I'll use one that's 2 years ago for this winter. But as long as I keep on top and keep filling it up, I'll always have dry logs. And yeah, 2 years is plenty. By the time I actually burn these logs, they're so totally dry. There's never any smoke comes out of my chimney when I'm burning these logs. They burn incredibly hot because they're so dry, and you can go outside and look up at the chimney when it's burning. You can't see anything coming out the chimney at all, just a heat shimmer. Yeah, they're definitely properly dried out. So yeah, here's the footage for that. So my log store's a little bit empty from last winter. I've got plenty for the coming winters, but I need to put some stuff in here so it's got a couple of years to dry out before I need to use it. So luckily a tree surgeon cut down an oak tree fairly near us the other day and put a message on Facebook Marketplace to say free logs. So we went and loaded up the leaf with as many as we could physically fit in it. So now I've just got to chainsaw them up using my solar power into smaller pieces and then split them, put them in the log store. Right, making good progress. Managed to cut all of those so far. Cut a few more. I'm not sure how much longer my chainsaw is going to last because it's starting to smoke, but I'll get as many as I can and then I can start splitting them. This one's a bit of a monster. It's literally the width of my entire chainsaw, so I'm going through in a couple of cuts and letting the chainsaw have a rest between goes. But yeah, get a lot of logs out of that one. But otherwise, I've done pretty much all of them now. All cut. Now, because this one is two trunks going off, I'm going to have to cut down between them here, all the way down to there. Because if you try and split, like a crosswood with a splitting maul, you're not going to get anywhere. You have to hit it with the axe sort of on the face. So I need to cut it so that I've got two faces. Right, that's it. They're all done. I'm not sure whether this will split or not. I'll have to try and split it first, and if not, then I'll have to just chainsaw it into pieces. But we'll see how we go. But now I'm going to clean up all the sawdust mess, and then I'll start splitting. So I've managed to split most of those bits from that two trunk piece, but this piece is not going to go. So I'm going to have to just sort of chainsaw that in half, and that'll make two good sized logs. But I think that's it. The rest of it I should be able to split as normal. I made good progress. Lots of chopped wood. Still quite a lot of logs to chop though, but the sun is come round to where I'm chopping now, so it's getting quite hot. So I might leave the rest till tomorrow when the sun's around the front, and do it tomorrow morning. Finish them up and then get them loaded in the log store. Right, it's time to start loading them in. I can sit here for a couple of years and dry out. And then a couple of years from now, they'll be nice and dry like these ones, and I can use them in the log burner for the winter. The next thing I had to do was the lights in my shed had stopped working, so I had to fix that, and here's the footage for that. So I have these little lights inside my shed, just like tiny 1 watt lights. There's one on each side, but those were just leftover ones. The real ones are on the outside, and they're just sort of under here to sort of light up this whole underside when it's night time. And they came with like a power block that you would plug into a normal socket, and it would step down the 240 volts to 12 volts, which powers the lights. But I didn't want to use that because I've got obviously the batteries here, which are all DC. So I got a buck converter, DC to DC converter. So this converts 48 volts, which is the main battery, into the 12 volts for the lights. But I've noticed that the lights have stopped working, and so I think this buck converter has blown. I've just tested the battery side, and obviously there's voltage coming from the battery side, but when I test the output side, which should be coming out at 12 volts, it's just 0. So I think this has died. So I've bought a new one, and I just need to get this one off the wall, unsolder this cable here, solder some pins onto the new one, adjust its voltage to be 12 volt output, and then swap it in place for this, and then hopefully get my shed lights working again. So I'll get this one off the wall, and then we can get the new one in place. Right, I've got the old one off, and you can see I soldered these sort of pins on to the thingy on one side, but I directly soldered the wires in on the other side. I'm not going to do that this time because it makes it a pain to take it off if it blows like it just has. So I'm going to put the same sort of pins on each side, and then I've managed to find a couple of spare cables now, which I will splice onto the ends of the cables that lead to the actual lights, so that I can just slot it onto the pin, and that'll make it look better. Here's my new DC-DC converter, slightly different than that one. So a slightly different layout, same sort of components, so I guess it's essentially the same. So yeah, I've just got to solder the pins into these little holes at each end, and then adjust the voltage with this tiny little screw on the top here, until the output voltage is about 12 volts, and then that should be it. So I'll get some pins wired in now, and then we can adjust it. Right, I've got the new one wired in. I've got it set to 5 volts. I think it's 5 volts actually, not 12 volts. So I'll start with 5 volts, and if that doesn't light the lights up, then I'll increase it to 12. But I've set it to 5 just in case, because if I put it on 12 and it's 5, it'll blow them. So let's try turning it on. You can see that's the light. It should switch off in a second. There it goes. Yep. So 5 volts it is. So that's working again now. So I just need to screw that back on the wall where it was, and then I get on to the next job. And then while I was in the shed, it was a good opportunity to check all of my homemade batteries, make sure that I haven't got any heaters in there. For anyone who doesn't know, these old lithium-ion cells, over a long period of time, eventually they can create dendrites inside, and it sort of leads to sort of small short circuits inside the cell, and that generates heat, and they start to heat up. And if you don't, if you just ignore it and leave them, it gets worse and worse, and they get to the point where they can get so hot inside that they can catch fire, which is obviously a bad thing. So I check them every so often, and with my thermal camera, and if I see any of them that are starting to get warm compared to the others, I pop them out and take them to the battery recycling place at the local dump, and put them in there, and then I put a new one in to replace it, and in that way I keep the risk of any kind of thermal runaway or anything like that to an absolute minimum. So here's the footage for that. Okay, let's have a look at the batteries. It's been a while since I've checked them with the thermal camera, but you can see there's nothing particularly standing out in any of those. Nothing really. There's a few brighter ones here. But if we look at the actual you can see actually there's very little difference between, that's like 19 degrees where it says it's red, and then it's like 18 degrees, yeah, 18.7 in the, so really there's no real difference. It's just they're all, there's nothing that are really standing out as being particularly hot. Again, talking about a fraction of a degree difference on those ones. Same thing there, 19.7 is the high, about 19.1 is the low. So let's have a look at the ones at the bottom. Yeah, if you had a heater in there, you'd really see it. It would be glowing, quite a lot compared to the others. There'd be a significant temperature difference, like that looks like it could be, but it's only a degree or so above the normal one, so nothing to be concerned about. Let's check these ones.
Yeah, nothing really standing out there. The glow you can see in the middle there is this DC-DC converter, so you'd expect that to be hot or hotter than other stuff. And that's the little computer that controls the BMS. So yeah, nothing really of anything to really worry about there. So they're all still looking good.
I've got a few spotlights in my house under the kitchen worktops and in a few of the glass-fronted cupboards, and they've got these. I think they're like 20-watt halogen bulbs in them, which is not very efficient. So I found these LED ones that are the same size and that, but they're only about a watt or a couple of watts each. So make a big difference, and so I swapped all of those out for these little LED ones, and that should make it more energy efficient, and we should use less electricity when we've got the undercovered lights on. And then one more thing that I needed to do was to adjust the back door because it's not sealing very tightly and there's cold air coming in around the seal. So I thought I would try and adjust that to make it a tighter fit. Yeah, here's the footage for that.
Okay, so let's just quickly have a look using the thermal camera. And as you can see, there is a real cold spot right below the door. Compared to, say, the rest of the room, which is what, 21 degrees there. And I go back to that cold spot, and that's like 15 degrees. So what that is, I mean, I can actually feel it. There's cold air dropping in under this door, and I think that's because the door doesn't seal properly against, the rubber seal doesn't seal against the frame. You see, this rubber seal should press against the thing here to make a tight seal, and this one on the outside here as well should. If I put this sheet of paper here and then close the door, can see that there's no real grip there, it just comes straight out. Let's try it again. Pop that there, shut the door. So if you push that up there, look, you can move that all the way along easily. So I don't think that's sealing. So what I'm going to do is try and adjust the door in and out so it will press against the seal. And the way to do that is to adjust, there's an adjustment on the hinge that can do that. So inside this bit there's an adjustment to make the door go this way and this way. And then on the top there's an adjustment that makes the door go up and down. And in the bottom there's one that makes it go in and out. So I need to get into the bottom here. You can see on this hinge there's a little plug that you have to pop out. And then once you've popped that out, you can adjust it using a Allen key. So the first thing to do is try and pop that out. Now you can see there's a tiny little hook, so I've got this tiny little bit of metal that I made so that I can pop that in there like that and then bend it out, and hopefully I can pull those out. There we go. Okay. You have to excuse the washing machine. Okay, got that one out. Okay, so you have to make sure the door's not, you can shut it but it's not locked. Okay, so let's have a look now and see if that moves. Yeah, can you see that's moving slightly in and out? So I've just pulled it in a bit. See if the door's still shut. Yep. See if I can do it with this one as well. Okay, so let's just check now. See, it still flows at this end, but as you get to this end now, where I've tightened it up, it's getting stuck. So that's definitely pressing a lot tighter at this side now. So now I've got to do this side, because this side is still very little. Even when I have the lock pulled up tight, you can see it's still moving. So what I need to do is adjust this in a bit more this way, so that when you use the locking mechanism, it will pull the door into here and pull it against there. So you just need to take these two screws, loosen them, move that in a little bit, and then tighten them back up again. So I'll do that and then we'll see if that's made any difference. Okay, so I've adjusted that all now and the door definitely feels a lot tighter. So if I put this piece of paper in, it moves freely. It's tight at this end now where I tighten that up, but it moves freely here. But then when I actually engage the locking mechanism now, which will, using that one I adjusted there, pull the door in, now you see this piece of paper won't move. It's much tighter, so that's definitely pressing on the thingy now. And the same was true at the top here. There was a gap here too, so I adjusted the same one at the top here, this one, So I moved that in a bit as well. So now when I engage the door lock, you can see that that pulls in. Ready? Ooh. You see that pulls in? So now it's sealing tight all the way down there. So hopefully that should improve the situation. So what I'll do is I'll wait for a little while now to for the ambient temperature in the house to warm up that patch under the door, and then we'll come back in a bit and see whether it's made any difference to how cold it is down there using the thermal camera. Okay, it's been a little while now, what, about 2 hours, so I'll just see if that's made any difference yet. Well, there's still a cold patch there. Still seems to be the same sort of temperatures. It is colder outside now, of course, but I don't know. I'll have to look at the original footage as well and see whether that looks any different. I feel like the black bit's a little bit smaller, but maybe not. Maybe I'll come back and try it again a bit later and see if it's made any more difference. And then the last thing, it's not really preparing for winter, but I only took a few photos when we went, so I thought I'd just tag it on the end of this video. We went to see the new Kia EV9 unveiling at the local Kia showroom. It's a huge, big people carrier, you know, sort of Range Rover type thing. It's 7 seats, you know, it's huge inside, massive amount of room, and it's really nice. There's some pictures here, yeah, we both quite liked it, but it is enormous, and probably really for where we are in our lives now, you know, we don't need a vehicle that size anymore. You know, 15 years ago, it probably would have been ideal, but my kids are all pretty much grown up now, so we don't need such a large vehicle. So I very much doubt we would get one, but it was still nice to go and have a look at it and see the premium feel of it that Kia have gone for, and I think they've succeeded. You know, it's really quite plush inside, and it's very nice. But yeah, for anyone who's got like quite a lot of kids, I think it would be quite a good option, you know, especially if you like going camping and things like that. You've got to get all the kids and all the stuff in there, and that it would be quite good for that sort of scenario. But yeah, that's it really. Thanks for watching. Please do like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you all on the next video.